Right here around the front, I'm going to suggest you guys come and sit right down here on the ground. It's nice and warm. Just stay on the outside of this cord. If you notice, around the front of this stage, I have stretched this cord. This cord has been treated with oil of citronella and cloves and other odoriferous ingredients that the fleas find repulsive. So, as long as you stay on that side of the cord, you should have no fear of any fleas jumping on you. I have never lost a flea, therefore any itching you experience is, I assure you, psychosomatic. All right. Come on in, have a seat. There's still lots of seats available over here on the side, because those folks in the back are going to have to wait till the 5:45 show to see it. Unless you have really good eyesight. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to the Orange Blossom Festival. And I invite you to behold a scientific exhibition the likes of which is rarely seen in this modern day and age. I refer, of course, to that flamboyant relic of a bygone era, the singularly sensational Flea Circus. When you leave here today and tell your friends and neighbors about the amazing antics of which these incredible insects are capable, they will hardly believe you, and yet all it will take is a few moments of your valuable time. I am Professor Humbug, the owner and manager of this diminutive delight, responsible for the care and feeding of my parasitic performers par excellence. To answer the most common question, how did you get into this business, I will tell you I am a third-generation flea trainer. My father was in fleas, his father was in fleas, his father was infested with fleas. Now, before we begin, on the other side of the cord, gents, stay on the other side of the cord, not in front of the stage, just right there, just stop and drop. Stop and drop and roll. There you are. All right. It's a good say. Wait a minute now, you can't both occupy the same space at the same time. It's physically impossible. Sit. Sit. Good boy. Sit. Sit. You see why I don't train people? Just fleas. All right. Now, before we begin, I'd like to dispel any naysayers in the audience who believe that the Flea Circus is a sham, a ruse, that this is some legerdemain on my part. And most people will agree that there is nothing more honest than a small child. Therefore, I am going to ask the assistance of, let's say, this young fellow who I couldn't get to sit down before. Now I'm asking him to sit up again. I mean, this is terrible. Can you stand up for us, please? Very good. Let's give him a nice round of applause. He managed. Take the coat, give it to him. All right, now come around here. Come around the front. I know what I told you. Don't go in front of the cord, but you can this time. What's your name? Jonathan. That's right. Very good. Now, Jonathan, I'm going to need your assistance today. You see, inside of this box are 25 trained fleas of the order Pulex irritans, or common household flea. Now, your job, Jonathan, is going to be the eyes for the audience, because there are 25 trained fleas in this very box. Now, only 6 of these are our principal performers. The rest are merely understudies, lest one break a leg or be otherwise incapacitated, thus assuring you of a full performance at all times. Are you still with me, Jonathan? Barely. All right, now, Jonathan, if you would be so kind as to hold this magnifying glass, grasp it in both hands. It's a very delicate instrument. Use both hands. There you are. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to open this box. I want you to look through the magnifying glass into the box, and when you see the fleas moving, I want you to yell, "I see them," okay? So that everyone knows that there are real fleas and not legerdemain on my part. Are you ready? Look through the magnifying glass, look right through, and tell me when you see the fleas move. You see them? Say it nice and loud so they can hear you. He sees them, ladies and gentlemen. And who can impugn the honesty of this small child? Don't go anywhere. I'll give you a quarter later. All right, now here's a... Stay right there, because I'm going to need your assistance a little further. I like to start off my show in a patriotic fashion with the raising of the American flag. Would you hold this for me, Jonathan? Hold it there, just like so. Now, Jonathan, I'm going to take out my strongest and largest flea, Bruno. That's Phineas. Hold on. There's Bruno. You know, people can't really tell these apart too well, but I can, by their general appearance and not by the color of their eyes. Now, Bruno is my largest and strongest flea. What he's going to do, Jonathan, is I'm going to put him right here on the top of this stage, and then I'm going to have you bring the platform up. I'll help you. And he's going to jump on the platform and raise the flag. Are you ready? Now, be very careful how you do this, because we don't want to squish him. So help me. Hold on to it, and we're going to put it right up on top of the platform, and he's going to jump right up there. Hang on. Come on. Oh, there he goes. Ladies and gentlemen, the fleas are sensitive to vibrations and would have enjoyed some applause had you given him any. There you are. Let's give him a nice one. Take that off there. Okay, let go. You can let go now. Thank you. Very good. That's Bruno. And now you're all warmed up, aren't you? Are you warmed up? Okay, because I'm going to need your help one more time. I have here in my hand an American $50. Put your hand out, Jonathan. How much would you say that weighs? Is it heavy or light? It's pretty light. No, don't put it in your pocket, Jonathan. Oh, boy after my own heart. Okay, now, Jonathan, this actually weighs a scant 10 grams. For little Bruno here, it is the equivalent of lifting well over 6,000 pounds. Not only will he lift this inordinately excessive burden, but will flip it over face up. Watch carefully as Bruno does his feat of strength. Come on, come on. Whoops. Now let's do it right. Do it one more time so these folks can see it. Watch. Come on. Oh, there he goes. Ladies and gentlemen, Bruno. A nice round of applause for Bruno and Jonathan. And Jonathan, I present you with a booklet on the training of fleas. He's going to be a competitor for me one day. You can bring that home and have your family read that. Go on back. Let's have a nice round of applause for him. Ladies and gentlemen, people can scarcely believe what they see when they see the flea circus. They don't know how it's possible, but nature is full of wondrous surprises. In order for you to understand the magnitude of strength that it was required to do that last stunt, I would like to draw your attention, because this is a scientific demonstration first and foremost, to this chart of the greatly amplified anatomical attributes of my small charges. A flea is in size 1/8 of 1 inch and usually much smaller. And of so light a weight, it takes over 5,000 fleas to tip the scale to merely 1 ounce. Some audiences are impressed enough by this to say, ooh. Like I said, some audiences. You will note the flea has got 6 strong jumping legs that have launched this flea to the highest echelon of jumping ability in the animal kingdom. If a flea were the size of this gentleman over here, as frightening a thought as that might be, he would be able to leap over the 287-foot Capitol Dome of Washington, D.C. and make an Olympic broad jump of nearly 450 feet. But the flea is very strong. How much would you say you weigh, sir? 120. Let's say 120. How much would you say you could lift?
Maybe 50 pounds.
Maybe 50 pounds. Well, that's sad. But a flea can lift nearly 4 times its own weight and pull nearly double that, where the poor plow horse can barely even accomplish more than 2 times its own weight. But the flea, unfortunately, has no nose whatsoever. Some people ask me, how do they smell? Some people ask me. Terrible. Now, the scientific portion of the program being concluded, we now begin with the circus in earnest. I present our flea Tobias. Tobias is the only flea in captivity who can play the calliope. Hold on a second. Stay. All right. He wiggles. Now, we also have Phineas. There's Phineas. Phineas will juggle the ball with his feet. Stay. And finally, Madame Fifi. Madame Fifi is our aerialist, and she will promenade for you today in a Paris gown of silk, topped with ostrich plumes. Very fancy. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, direct your attention to the center stage. Tobias, music, please. I don't think they can hear you, Tobias. Here. Come on. There he goes. Ladies and gentlemen, watch. Come on, come on. It's very slow today. Go on. Well, here comes Madame Fifi anyway. Come on, Fifi. Give us a good show. If you listen very carefully, you can hear the sound of Fifi's tiny high heels clicking on the stage. An affectation, to be sure. But we let her do this because, after all, it helps her keep her balance on the high wire. I'm afraid she's pooped out. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give her a nice round of applause. It's her 3rd show today. All right. And now, ladies and gentlemen, people often ask me, Professor, how is it possible that these fleas can do this? Do you have some special diet that makes the fleas able to do this sort of thing? Unfortunately, Mother Nature has not improved on the flea's diet in several million years. Does anybody know what a flea eats? That's right, blood. Dog blood, cat blood, people blood, it doesn't make any more difference to a flea than vanilla, chocolate, or strawberry ice cream does to you or I on a hot summer's day. The flea bites in a vampiric manner, thus piercing the flesh with these sharp lancets and drawing the blood up through tubes. Unfortunately, even though Mother Nature has doomed the poor flea to spend its entire life drinking through a straw, it does not blow bubbles. That's one of the good things about it. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we can continue with Madame Fifi. Let's see if she can do this. Madame Fifi is our youngest flea and therefore the most reckless. It is this monumental self-assurance that compels her to walk from this platform across this monofilamental strand at a dizzying height of over 7 inches to this other platform without a net. We lost a net in the dog show incident of 1987. I don't like to talk about it. Ladies and gentlemen, remember, when you see this, Fifi is a professional. Do not attempt this at home. All right, here you go. Fifi, if you would be so kind. Music, please. Come on, Fifi. Here she's gained some weight, folks. Hold on. All right, there we go. There she goes, ladies and gentlemen. Madame Fifi. A nice round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, for Madame Fifi. Well, everybody's tired today. There we are. Now, ladies and gentlemen, people ask me, Professor, how is it possible to train a flea?
How is it possible to train a flea?
I love these kids. I will let you into the strictest confidence, ladies and gentlemen. It is actually impossible to train a flea. They are wild animals and can never truly be trusted. Why, just last week, one of my fleas, and I'll savor the embarrassment of telling you who, was so startled by a glint of sunlight off of a balding gentleman's head that she bit me savagely on the finger, and I carry the scar to this day. However, those incidents are rare. And in order to train the fleas, I use the science of resonance. I hold here 2 tuning forks, one in the key of A and one in the key of C. When I strike the tuning forks, you will hear the sound the fleas hear, although, of course, they hear it much louder. The tuning fork in C, no, let's see if we can get that a little louder. Can you hear that? Just barely. That's a sharp, very high-pitched sound that the flea finds very pleasant. It's like tickling the flea. However, on the rare occasions when the fleas misbehave and bug me, and I have to use discipline, I use the A tuning fork. The A tuning fork is a lower pitch and produces in the flea a violent shaking. Spare the tuning fork, spoil the flea. That's what I always say. All right, so now to demonstrate this, I'm going to bring out my 2 oldest fleas, Victoria and Albert. Victoria and Albert are our old marrieds. They've been together for quite some time and performed more than 1,000 times. And between them, the winsome couple have produced more than 2,000 children. That's right. Hey, stop that. With no end of the children in sight, apparently. Behave yourselves. Ladies and gentlemen, I present on the high wire, Victoria and Albert. Are you guys ready? All right, here we go. And go. Watch very carefully, ladies and gentlemen, as Victoria attempts the most difficult trick in the trapeze ensemble, the triple. Here she goes. There she is. 1, 2, 3. The triple, ladies and gentlemen. A nice round of applause for Victoria and Albert. Thank you, folks. And now, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to need the assistance of a gentleman from the audience, someone of strong and sturdy stature. Sir, would you assist me over here, the gentleman in the top hat? Right? No, don't look behind you, sir. There's only one person in the top hat. A nice round of applause for this sturdy fellow coming up to the front of the stage. Hello, sir. I'm very well, thank you. Stay on the other side of the court, just for your own protection. What is your name, please?
Bob.
Bob, you're not a flea trainer by any chance, are you?
No.
One of these days, someone's going to answer yes to that, and I'm going to fall down dead in surprise. Now, Bob, our next performer is a little bit temperamental and requires, contractually I might add, to have a drum roll. Bob, if you would be so kind as to wind up this clown. Yes, all right. Wind up the clown. No, that's all right. You can. He's used to this one right here. All right. And I'm going to bring this guy out. Now, don't start it until I tell you go. Ladies and gentlemen, a flea's biggest fear is water. Even the mention of the words flea bath sends the tiny heart of the flea into a terror. However, one flea has conquered his fear of this element, the intrepid Wesley, who will climb each rung of this ladder, bounce upon the top of the platform, and land into, harmlessly we hope, this container of water. Are you ready, Bob? All right, turn so that everyone can see you. All right, here goes Wesley. Bob, drum roll, please. First rung, second rung, third rung, and... Oh dear. Ladies and gentlemen, hold on. Hold on. Ladies and gentlemen, the great Wesley. Let's give him a nice round of applause. Just wringing out his bathing suit, Bob. And Bob, let me present to you, for your help, a training booklet on flea training. Thank you very much for coming up. Let's get, wait, hold on. I have a flea here. Here you go. Thank you very much. Let's have a nice round of applause for Bob. And now, ladies and gentlemen, because it seems the band wants it to be, ladies and gentlemen, I present the finale, or as it is sometimes pronounced in Europe, the finale. For this, I'm going to need the assistance of a young lady from the audience between 5 and 6 feet of height, possessing a special fondness for animals and their trainers. The young lady in the green, the olive green over there. Ma'am, don't look around, it's you. Yes, you. All right, how about you? You come up. Are you going to come up? Yes, you. Come on up. Come on up. Let's have a nice round of applause for this statuesque young lady. Right this way. Right this way. What's your name, my dear? What is it? Jera. Now, Jera, fleas and human beings have not always gotten along. You see, the relationship has always been strained. However, in order for this to work, it's important and, in fact, vital that you and this flea bond. Therefore, if you would be so kind, Jera, as to put out your hand thus, just like so, and cup it ever so slightly against any stray zephyrs. You'd be surprised, sometimes they come from the audience themselves. All right, now, if you would be so kind as to look little Victor in his well-scrubbed face and say in a clear and an authoritative fashion, "Fear not, Victor, I will catch you."
Fear not, Victor, I will catch you.
It was very authoritative. And if you would be so kind as to tickle him under the chin a little bit. That wasn't his chin, but he enjoyed it immensely, I assure you. Now, have you ever played baseball? Refresh my memory again. Your name is what? Jenna? Jera. I'm sorry, Jera. Here's a baseball glove. Now, it's going to be your responsibility, Jera. I'm going to have you stand about where this gentleman is right here. Have everybody sort of part the ways. Little Victor here is going to be fired out of the muzzle of this cannon over the heads of the audience, like the rest of my show, and into your waiting baseball glove. Now, Jera, if you'd be so kind as to hold it thusly, not in front of your nose because of the impact. Right. All right. All right, are you ready? You ready, Victor? You should have thought of that before we left. Okay, all right. You know, ladies and gentlemen, it takes a certain caliber of flea to be fired from a cannon. Thank you, both of you. All right, here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll need a countdown. You ready? 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Look, there he goes. Hold on.
Just fell on his head.
Ladies and gentlemen, Victor and his assistant, Jera! Ladies and gentlemen, I thus conclude my program with one small reminder. There is no creature so small that we can't learn something from them if we only take the time to listen. I thank you. The Fleas and I return again at 5:45.